2019 saw the goodbye of many beloved film franchises such as the MCU Infinity Saga, the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, and many more. It's the end of the decade that began 9 years ago, and there's a lot to come for the upcoming 2020s. But today, I discussed the top 5 best and worst animated movies of 2019, and to be honest, 2019 was quite a letdown in terms of animation. The majority were either just good, average, messy, and just boring and completely awful. Thankfully, it didn't have many horrible animated movies, but it wasn't all that great. Thankfully, though, we do have one masterpiece that did become my favourite film of all time, but let's now discuss the animated movies of 2019. However, I have now decided to keep Spies in Disguise for 2020. Well, mainly because when it comes out December 27th in the UK and Ireland, but here's the thing. By that time, I will hopefully have my 128GB Samsung Galaxy A50, which I'm getting for Christmas, and I think it would be something nice for me to start 2020 off, and maybe I could try out some editing skills on that new phone, and also with my possible future review for How to Train Your Dragon Homecoming, but that won't be until a while. So that's why I decided to ignore Spies in Disguise. I did originally include it in the thumbnail, but as you can see, I did crop it just so it wouldn't be there. And sorry that the thumbnail might be a bit messy, but hey, let's go on to the list. But before I do start the best and worst lists, I want to talk about the honorable mentions because my thoughts on those movies are very brief and short. The honorable mentions are Toy Story 4. The Addams Family, Shaun the Sheep 2, Secret Life of Pets 2, and The Lego Movie 2. Toy Story 4 was an okay movie. It is entertaining, I will admit, but it's not a great movie, and my god, it does not deserve a higher score than the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. That trilogy puts Toy Story 4 to shame. It does have beautiful animation, some good music I guess, and it is nice seeing Woody and the gang again, but why not just make a TV show out of it? That would have been better. Let's be happy that it isn't the Shrek the Third of Toy Story 4, because it's infinity times better than the third Shrek movie. But it could have been a lot worse, so let's be thankful it isn't a bad movie. I just don't think it's very good, and a lot of the stuff came a lot later than I thought it would be. Again, not terrible, close to being good in fact. It was just okay to me. Same with The Addams Family, which I thought was just very boring, and I just didn't really care about it, and it didn't have me interesting. It was just a very bland movie. I mean, yeah, entertaining, I guess, but I'm just kind of like, ugh, boring. It wasn't very good. Shaun the Sheep 2, while better than the first, sure, but not that good either. But again, it's not really for me. It's not horrible. I just think it's okay. The villain, just the design, the long face reminds me of Grimmel. I will admit this, though. I do actually think the design for that villain is better than the design for Grimmel, because I just don't think Grimmel's design is very good, but that's about it, because I think Grimmel is a much better villain than the villain of Sheep 2. Better design though? Yeah, I'll give it that, but it's just an alright movie to me, it's just meh. Secret Life of Pets 2 isn't a great movie either. I still remember the morning I saw the first movie and it just didn't need a sequel. The story was just very messy and there was no connection and it made me very confused. Animation was nice for sure, but it was just kind of an average movie. Not horrible, but not good. And like with another movie that's on the worst list, it's a film where the first one was something I loved as a kid 3 years ago in 2016. And now looking back on it, I just think it's decent. Lego Movie 2. Oh boy, you probably all know my thoughts on this film. When I came out of the cinema, I wanted to like it, but like with Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom, the more my thoughts went through my brain, the less I liked the movie. The story is just messy. The comedy is incredibly dragged out. And when they play a song, then they drag it out, and it loses its special touch. And honestly, there's just way too many songs, and making it a musical was just stupid. The Duplo saying, "Hello," was really annoying, and the tone of it was just so kiddie. The first film is a kid's film. Yes, I agree. But it felt like a family film because the humor landed and there was a villain. Same with the Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu television show. The plot twists were honestly I just didn't see the need. Yes, I will admit, I didn't really see it coming, but it's just not a good movie, and it's a very disappointing sequel, because the first one is one of Warner Brothers' best animated movies, and for releasing the same month as The Hidden World, Honestly, no wonder it bombed. If it didn't want to bomb, it should have been released around summer, or maybe after Avengers Endgame came out. But yeah, not a good movie. I know it sounds like I think it's the worst thing ever. I don't actually think that. I know it sounds like I think the movie's horrible. I don't think it's horrible. I won't go that extreme. I just think it's a very messy sequel and I just don't like it. It just sucked, honestly. But now, let's talk about the top 5 worst animated movies of 2019. Angry Birds Movie 2, well, isn't anything atrocious, but it's not good, and it's not bad, but incredibly mediocre. There really wasn't a need to make a sequel to an adaptation of the Angry Birds app, and it was just honestly really bland and very boring. I only laughed at 2 funny moments, but that was about it. The characters weren't even interesting, not even the new ones. And it was just honestly a really boring sequel that just didn't need to happen. Sure, I'm sure there's people that like the first one, but did we really need a sequel? It's nicely animated, sure, but that's about it. It's honestly very forgettable as well. As a 12-year-old kid, I did love the first, but now I just think it's decent, I guess. But like we see for Life of Pets 2, not a good sequel, and I think the first film to both Angry Birds and Secret Life of Pets are better than their sequels. I just don't see the third movie for both franchises. Nothing horrible, but very mediocre. Coming in at number 4 is Arctic Dogs. When I reviewed the movie with Harry, he hated it, and I can see why. I don't think it's a good movie either. While I wouldn't say it's horrible, it's very boring, bland, and not very interesting. It's pretty sad that a very low-budget animated movie gets professional actors such as Jeremy Renner, who plays Hawkeye in The Avengers, and James Franco, who plays Harry Osborn in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. All the actors do try their best, and the voice acting is actually pretty decent. But the story just didn't make a whole lot of sense. The villain, yeah, it was pretty crappy, and Harry's most likely right about him being a rip-off to the villain of Monsters Inc. The animation is nice, sure, I will admit that. It's just nothing I'd put on the big screen, and it ain't a very interesting movie, and it was honestly a very boring and incredibly bland. Since the number 5 and number 4 spot were movies that were incredibly mediocre, believe me, the top 3 worst animated movies of 2019 are, yeah, pretty bad. Coming in at number 3 worst is the Playmobil movie. Oh boy, yeah, this movie sucked. I don't think it's as bad as other people say it is, but it's not a good movie. The story is incredibly uninteresting and is beyond boring, and it's honestly an animated movie that just doesn't even try, at least, to have a bit of goodness in it. Like I once said in one of my reviews for 2019, any film in general can be a masterpiece. It's true, any movie can become the best movie ever. But this film isn't that. Visuals are fine, but the characters are incredibly weak and hollow, and the movie made me bored, and bored. When Kung Fu Panda came out, everyone including myself thought it would have ended up being terrible. But it turned out being a great movie, which got 2 sequels, 2 TV shows, and 4 shorts, and the possibility of a 4th and final movie. Everyone thought that was going to be crap. The Playmobil movie could have ended up being like that. It could have turned out being a masterpiece. But no, it just sucked, and it's a movie I definitely recommend skipping. Coming in at the number 2 worst spot is Ugly Dolls. This is the film where I said in my review any movie can be a masterpiece. When the trailers came out, everyone expected to hate it. And they were right, and yeah, it's not a good movie. It's really bad. The animation certainly isn't cinematic worthy, and the music is just really annoying, and the characters are just, awful. I don't even have much to say other than it's awful, but at least I have more to say about Ugly Dolls than the number 1 worst animated movie of 2019. As for the number 1 worst animated movie of 2019, Norm of the North 2, Keys to the Kingdom. I'm done. Just get it out of my face, please. What more can I say? Norm 2 is just awful. I was prepared for how bad it was going to be, and Alpha and Omega at least had fans, and I actually really loved the Alpha and Omega movies. Well, I like the first 5, I don't like the 6th one, and I haven't seen the 7th and the 8th. But Norm, I can't think of anyone I know who likes it. Sure, there's some kids that like it, I'm pretty sure, but did anyone ask for a sequel? Anyone? No? Nobody at all? Yeah, it just shows that the crew most likely knew that they were making a pretty unnecessary and pointless sequel. I can say one thing, I'm happy that I watched it at the beginning of the year, because I was so happy to get out of the way and done with. The first was the worst animated movie of 2016, and its sequel is the worst animated movie of 2019 as well. Now we move on to the best list, the top 5 best animated movies of 2019. Coming in at number 5 is a pretty alright film, that being Frozen 2, which was alright. As I said in my review, I just didn't find the movie very interesting, and I did say I did think it was better than Toy Story 4 because it was at least more necessary. It's not horrible, but my thoughts on it were very brief, just like how short my review was. It's just not awful, but it's just, it was passable. Just the story just wasn't interesting. The visuals are good, like it's a beautiful looking movie. I just didn't really care, to be honest. I just didn't find it that interesting. And I mean, I will say it's at least entertaining, but that's not saying much. Like, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's alright, as in passable. And that's what I thought it was going to be. Better than the first, for sure, but not that great of a movie. The number 4 best is Missing Link, which honestly surprised me. It's no masterpiece like Kubo and the Two Strings, but it's actually an enjoyable movie and had some decent humor. Missing Link is a fun, pleasant film, and it's just a fun watch. Not perfect, but it's entertaining, funny, and just overall enjoyable. And the characters weren't even that bad. The voice acting is actually really good. It's not the best thing ever made, but it's an enjoyable movie to say the least. Number 3 best. This is a very controversial one. Wonder Park. A film a lot of people hated, but I actually liked it. I liked the message, I liked the tone, the aspect of the mother was quite deep, and I didn't think it would be in this type of movie. The idea of Wonder Park is pretty cool, the way it's like a magical land that does get brought to life. It's not perfect by any means, because just like Missing Link, it's just decent, and I can see why it does get hate, but I do feel the hate is a little extreme, because it's not as bad as, say, something like Strange Magic, but I actually enjoyed Wonder Park for what it was. Coming in at number 2 is Abominable. Thank God, and thank you, DreamWorks. You made a great movie. When I heard about the film, I honestly did facepalm. But when the trailers came out, and when DreamWorks promised a beautiful tearjerker movie, I got excited and curious, but also kinda worried it would have been another Trolls and Boss Baby pull on us. But when I saw the movie in the Irish premiere, I loved it. And I saw it 3 times in cinemas. I loved the journey and the story of Yi. I love Pang and Jing. They got a good few laughs out of me. Everest is a very lovable character, and Yi's grandmother did actually make me laugh with a good few of her quotes. Yi's mother was good too. The Doctor Gang, however, were just alright. They were fine. The plot twists were very random. I saw a plot twist coming, but then there was a plot twist with a certain character that I saw really out of nowhere. But the villain, Mr. Burnish, is actually a very entertaining character. When the trailers came out, everyone thought he'd be a pretty crappy villain. But no, he actually made me laugh throughout a good amount of the movie. And visually, Abominable is just beautiful. It's on par with the Kung Fu Panda movies in terms of its visuals. The soundtrack is also very good, especially the end credit song, Beautiful Life. It's not DreamWorks' best thing they've ever done, by any means, but it could be in my top 20 DreamWorks movie. But now, on to the best animated movie of 2019. The number 1 best animated movie of 2019 is How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World. I think everyone knows I absolutely love this movie. It's my favorite film of all time, and it was more than worth the 5-year wait. The story was wonderful, and the romance between Toothless and the Light Fury was really sweet and adorable and funny. And the Light Fury was such a great character. I love her design, and I loved her character in general. She's cute, she's sweet, and lovable. Grimmel being the best villain of the franchise, even though his design is very weak, he's still a great villain for what he is, and all the characters are great. The fight scenes were absolutely spectacular. The final battle of the Hidden World is easily the best final battle of the franchise, even though, yeah, it kind of sucks that there was no dragon versus dragon fight, but to be fair, that just kind of makes it repetitive from the second film, because this movie is about war is shit, but peace is awesome, because we don't need war in our world. We can just have peace, kind of like what Avatar: The Last Airbender dealt with. So in a way, reviewing Dragon vs. Dragon is kind of showing that dragons can make peace since Toothless is the king. And Together from Afar and the music, but my god, Together from Afar is just a beautiful song, along with the rest of the soundtrack. When I saw the movie 5 times in cinemas, I would always sit through the end credits to listen to Together from Afar and to watch that montage of the entire trilogy. Together from Afar is my favourite song tied with Owl Cities to the Sky. And honestly, Dragon 3 The Hidden World is more than a satisfying conclusion to the franchise, and the ending did make me cry, and it was way better than what I thought it was going to be. I've seen it more than 30 times, and I've seen it 37 times by this point, and boy, I missed that experience. I even have a petition for them to re-release the entire trilogy for special screenings for the first film's 10th anniversary in March 2020. But please God, that'll work. All I can say is DreamWorks, bring on your next big franchise that's just as good as How to Train Your Dragon. Because I'm happy to call How to Train Your Dragon 3 The Hidden World the best film of 2019 and my favourite film of all time. And honestly, I can say one thing. I am really, really excited for How to Train Your Dragon Homecoming and How to Train Your Dragon Snuggletog Log. How to Train Your Dragon Snuggletog Log is just like a Yule log, but Homecoming is supposed to be the fifth and final short and the final property. I'll be reviewing that Christmas Day, hopefully, and I'll be editing my reaction, but that won't be until a while, so please, if you have seen Homecoming, do not spoil it. So yeah, 2019 is now done, and 2020 is starting the new decade. There's a lot to discover. New movies, new franchises, new jobs, new lives, new everything. I promise you, everyone, the 2020s decade will be great. And all I can say is, Happy New Decade, everyone. That's me, Leo Bryan, finishing the top 5 best and worst animated movies of 2019. Merry Christmas, folks.